Stay Home Adventures with Grandpa and Nana. Episode 23, Fresh Pasta.
Hi kids, it's Nana here. I've got my apron on. So what do you think that means? Yep, I'm gonna be cooking today. So I decided to make a nice dinner for us. So I already made some bolognese sauce and that's cooking on the stove. And I'm going to show you how to make homemade pasta.
Hold on, let's talk about pasta for a minute. Pasta is made from flour mixed with eggs and then it's formed into shapes. It can be cooked by boiling it in water or baking it. Pasta is a very popular type of Italian food. Where is Italy, you ask? Well, it's in Europe, which is clear across the Atlantic Ocean. There are two main types of pasta, dried and fresh. Most dried pasta is made by big companies and sold at the grocery store. Fresh pasta is traditionally made by hand and at home, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Both dried and fresh pastas come in a lot of shapes and sizes. Did you know there are over 310 different shapes of pasta? Both fresh and dried pastas can be cooked in basically three types of dishes. The first is pasta which is cooked with a sauce over it, like spaghetti or macaroni and cheese. There's pasta which is part of a soup, and then there's pasta which is in a dish that is baked in the oven, like lasagna. So now let's get back to learning how to make fresh pasta.
Of course, the first thing after we put our aprons on that we always need to do is wash our hands. So I'm gonna go do that right now. So what we need to make pasta from scratch is a nice cutting board, which I've already washed and it's good and dry. We need a nice rolling pin. We need flour. We need salt. We need good olive oil. I got the good stuff. And then we need eggs. So for the eggs, you have to know how many people you're making pasta for. So I'm making pasta for Grandpa and me. So the basic recipe is that you use one egg per person. So there'd be one for me, one for Grandpa. So I need 2 eggs. If you're making a lot of pasta, like you're making for a big family, let's say you have 6 people in your family, you might throw an extra egg in just so you have enough pasta. Okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is make a well out of our flour. So let's see if I can do this. I haven't done this by myself. I actually got this recipe from a cooking class I went to. A dear friend of mine, Patty Fabian. She's from Italy. She was born in Italy. She speaks Italian, fluent Italian, and she's a fabulous cook. She does cooking classes, and Nana went to one of her cooking classes, and I had so much fun. And so she taught me this recipe she taught me how to make the bolognese sauce that I made earlier that's on the stove, and she taught me how to make the pasta. So I've only done it at her house. Thank you, Miss Patty. And so I'm gonna try and make it by myself. We'll see. Hope you can see this. I've made like a little mountain that has almost like a volcano. So it's got flour along the side and then there's a hole in the middle. I think I need a little more flour. And when you're making pasta from scratch, Miss Patty would say, use the best flour you can get. And there's a brand called Double Zero. It's really fine and really the best of the best when it comes to flour. I couldn't find that, but I had read that King Arthur flour was a good brand. So that's what I'm using today. So I have my little well flour all the way around. There's a little kind of a hole in the center. I'm gonna take one egg at a time. Crack my little egg in here. Whoa. I'm gonna take a fork and break up that egg. And then I'm just gonna kind of gently stir. Now the object is to not get the egg to run out off the board. So that's what the flour is there for, to keep you need the flour to make the pasta, but you don't want the egg going all over the place. So if you wanted to, you don't have to do it on a board like I'm doing. You could put it in a bowl and put your flour in there with a little hole in the center and put your egg in there and do it that way. That might be easier. But this is the traditional way that Miss Patty taught me how to do it. So I'm gonna just keep doing it this way. So I've got one egg in there. Put my second, because remember there's two of us, Grandpa and me, for dinner tonight. So that's number 2. Break that up. And so as I stir, I'm just getting a little more flour, just adding a little more flour in with the eggs as I go. So I'm just gonna keep doing this until it gets to the point where it's not runny and I can work with it with my hands. And once it gets to that stage, I will come back and show you what we do next. Okay, so now I've got the egg and the flour pretty well mixed so that the egg, if the flour were to break, if my little dam were to break, the egg mixture wouldn't go running off the board. So I'm gonna add just a drop of olive oil, the good stuff, the stuff that tastes yummy. So I'm gonna add just a drop of that and just a pinch of salt, some little kosher salt right here. And I'm just gonna do a little pinch. Okay, so now I'm gonna start working with my hands. And this is the messy part, but it's also the fun part. And I'm gonna start working the dough with my hands. And I'm gonna start working this flour in to my dough. And I'm just gonna keep moving it together and pushing it over. Get some flour in there. I'm gonna just keep working with it, and it's kind of messy and sticky, but that's part of the process. So I'm gonna keep working this until it gets to the point where I can start kneading it. Okay, so you see how it's starting to look more like a ball now and less like a big lump of nothing. So I am going to wash my hands and then we're gonna start kneading. Okay, so my hands are clean. I've got my ball of dough and I am gonna start slowly kneading. Now kneading just continues to add a little bit more flour into the dough. You don't want the dough to be sticky, but you don't want to add so much flour that it gets tough. So by kneading it, we're just slowly adding a little more flour each time we push it. So to push, this is what Miss Patty taught me. You want to push with the palm of your hand and then fold it over. And then push with your palm of the hand and fold it over. Push with the palm of your hand, and we're like stretching it and fold it over. And we're gonna do this kneading where we push and we pull and we stretch. We add a little bit more flour each time we do that. We're gonna do this until our arms fall off. No, I'm just kidding. So you need big muscles for this. I wish my grandkids were here to help me because they both have big muscles. And after about 20 minutes of doing this, it won't be sticky. So like right now when I pinch it, Miss Patty taught me this too. When I pinch it, see how it's still sticky? We don't want it to be sticky. So I'm gonna keep kneading. Okay, so what a workout that was. It's supposed to look smooth and it's supposed to be not sticky. So if you've kneaded it enough with your strong arms and you've gotten enough flour in it, it won't be sticky like before when we pinch it. So I'm gonna knead it a few more times and then we'll test it. So when I pinch it, it doesn't stick. not sticky. So that means it's done. So we're going to wrap it in some Saran wrap and put it in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes. And then after we put it in the refrigerator for 20 minutes, we will roll it out flat and we're gonna hand cut our pasta. Our pasta has been in the refrigerator for at least 20 minutes. Mine's been in there a little bit longer in this plastic. So it's time to roll it out and then cut our pasta. It's really smooth inside. Okay, so I'm gonna put some flour on my board. And the goal is to get this as rectangle shaped as possible. I know it's a little hard to do a rectangle when it comes to starting with a ball, but I'm gonna just work with my hands a little bit, get it started, and then I'll work with my rolling pin. And the reason we want to get it kind of rectangle shape is we're going to be cutting it like fettuccine or like fat spaghetti. And so the long skinny is what I want. So again, it takes some muscle and it's going to take some work. I'm just going to keep rolling, flip it over. Okay, so I've rolled and rolled and rolled, and the goal was to get it long and kind of rectangle shape as best as possible. And you know that you've got it rolled out as well as you should when you can start to see your hand through the pasta. So that means it's now time to cut it. So we're ready to start cutting, and what we're gonna do is cut long strips, but I'm gonna just kind of fold this over to make it a little easier to start cutting. I'm gonna try and cut really tiny little strips. Okay, so I've finished cutting my pastas. And you can see I have a handful here of pasta that I have cut. I'm gonna go lay it on the counter, lay it out so that it has a chance to dry. And then I'm gonna do the exact same thing to the other half of the pasta bottle. What you got there, Grandpa?
Here is a first taste of Nana's bolognese and homemade pasta. Bon appetit.
Very hot.
Very good.